I'm Emily.
And I'm Tanner.
And you're listening to the Sencilla podcast, a conversation about simplicity. What's up, everybody? This is Emily, and I'm here with Tanner today. Once again, I'm in Colorado, and he's in Florida, hopefully for the last time that we'll have to do this over Zoom. Last week on the podcast, we talked about our search for our good enough sailboat. So if you haven't heard that one yet, go ahead and check it out. This week, we're kind of going to continue on with the 3-part boat buying series. So the first episode talked a little bit about how to figure out what kind of boat you want, how to kind of match that with your budget and your requirements for what you're trying to do, and then how to find boats within the requirements that you come up with, and then how to prepare yourself for your first look at the boat. So we're kind of continuing on in the timeline today. We're going to talk about our experiences, putting in an initial offer, and setting up a survey and a haul out, and going through the survey process, talking to the person selling the boat, and then coming up with a final offer and a deal. So kind of the whole process of the offer and the survey. So I'll say hi to Tanner here, and I'll let him take it away and tell you a little bit about how we came to our first offer price after we found the boat that we were trying to put an offer in on.
Okay, so I guess I'll kind of go into kind of what we would recommend based on the steps for this process, and then kind of what happened with us, right? So you can kind of take that for what it's worth. So we found our boat. We looked forever. We had a survey done on a boat that we ended up walking away from, which taught us a lot. We did a blog about that. You can go read it. It's pretty funny story. But so after that, we found our next boat, the Endeavor, and we were really excited about it. And we were ready to make an offer on it after I looked at it for the first time. We discussed it a bunch. I was like, this is the one. And you liked it too. It looks great inside. We were super excited, right? We were ready to make an offer. So how do you even do that? So first thing we would do is, you look at what's the asking price, right? The thing that you're going to see on your sailboatlistings.com or your Yacht World or whatever. And from a little bit of research, and I guess kind of from our experience with our first offer on the CS, is typically it's around 10 to 20% higher than what they're actually wanting to sell it for. So I would definitely account for that. I think on our first one, we didn't know that. And we actually offered about 10 to 20%, more like 20 to 25% less than he was probably wanting. And he immediately accepted. And we were like, oh my gosh.
Never thinking he was going to accept it at all.
Yeah. We're like, there's no way this guy's going to go this low. And then he was like, yes, I'll take that. And we're like, what? This is amazing. This is incredible.
We thought we'd have to bargain a whole bunch and go back and forth. But
yeah, I thought he was going to be like, absolutely not. Are you crazy? But apparently people tend to do that. So there's a little tip for you. I don't know if that's the same everywhere around the world or whatever. I don't know. But I think that's right, because we've, it worked for us, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so take 10, 20% off that number, and then make that your new number. And then, go through everything that you found in that initial survey when you walk through, and think about how much that's going to cost you to repair or to upgrade. And then obviously you're going to deduct that from your new original price. And this may take some time. You're going to have to do a lot of research on, how much are those materials going to cost? How much does the labor cost? If you don't have the time, and don't want to do it yourself, you're going to have to pay for the labor for it to be done. So, and then also if you're going to, upgrade certain systems, how much is that going to cost you? And then obviously you're going to add that to your price. And then you got to also not forget things that need to be done below the waterline. So for us, we did cutlass bearing, bottom paint, stuffing box. You could maybe replace the through holes. There's plenty of things, maybe replace the transducers and things like that for your navigation systems and whatnot. So those types of jobs are going to need you to take the boat out of the water, which costs like $1,000, depending on how big your boat is, something around there probably. And then per day that it's going to take you to fix it. So those are all things that you should consider based on, later, like what your survey brings up. If are you willing to do those things? So yeah, I mean, that's something like we did in our story. We took our boat out immediately and did some of these jobs right off the bat, and that cost us some money. So keep that in mind, for sure. Take that into consideration, and then make your offer. If you're going through a broker, then there may be some additional paperwork, like a deposit through them, and then some other stuff. But we actually bought our boat from a private owner, so it was just person to person, no middleman at all. It was just us. So that was interesting. And then once you submit your offer, you should hear back with a counter offer or an acceptance of your offer within maybe immediately or a couple of days. And then once you come to an agreement on your price with the broker or just the owner, the next step would be to set up the survey and a sea trial.
And our initial offer was a little bit of a roller coaster. Like the listing said $27,000, the listing price. And once we contacted the owner, he made us aware that he actually wanted $30,000 for it, and that he wasn't able to change the listing, but he had posted it other places for 30 grand. And we were already pretty invested. The part that we haven't really talked about yet is like you get like really emotionally invested in these boats. And, we already wanted this boat, even though we hadn't really purchased it yet. And so it was a little bit like, shocking when he raised the price, but we were like, okay, well, we can deal with a little bit more cost because we crunched all the numbers like Tanner was saying. But then we were like, okay, we're still going to offer a little bit less. And then he came back quite a few times, back and forth about certain things, putting a lot of stipulations on it. Like, well, if this gets fixed, then you should pay this. Or if I fix this, then you can pay this. And I'll include this if you pay this. And it was really a ride. And we went back and forth for quite a few days before we finally kind of made the offer and like had an offer that stuck. And Tanner was on the phone with him a whole lot, and I was just like, biting my nails, like waiting to hear what was going to happen. So it was pretty like, I wouldn't say stressful, but just like exciting, and also like ups and downs and kind of crazy before the initial offer was even put in. So we put our initial offer in. We finally like settled on a number based on a few different criteria. And then we were about to set up a survey, but then what happened?
When it came to getting this boat surveyed, this guy really the reason he said he had raised his price from 27 to 30,000 was because he had gotten a lot of interest, and the boat had just been hauled out and surveyed a few days before. Like I think like literally like 4 or 5 days before we had talked to him on a weekend, and it was like Thursday it had been hauled out. So it had just been surveyed and taken out. And so we had just had another boat surveyed maybe a few weeks before, and we paid the money for that. Like I said before, hauling a boat out costs money. So you've invested some of your own money that you're not going to get back. So me trying to save money, I was just thinking, hey, if this boat has been hauled out and surveyed, I just need to get my hands on this survey. I've already been on the boat. Eventually, I went and sailed it with the guy as well. So I got to look at it myself and sail it myself. Not that I'm an expert, but if I could get my hands on that survey, we might save ourselves $1,200. And I can have, I can look through the survey and get a pretty good idea of what we should be adjusting the price with, right? We could discuss all the problems and whatnot. So that we went kind of down a rabbit hole trying to figure out how to get this survey. The guy who was going to originally buy it wanted to take it immediately down to like Brazil or something, and passed on it because there were a few things that needed to be fixed on the boat. Somehow we were able to get in contact with the previous potential buyer and the surveyor, and the surveyor wouldn't sell it to us because that's like a conflict of interest or something. So we got it from the previous buyer, and I was able to buy it from him for like a quarter of the price of a survey. So that was really awesome. That saved us a lot of time because I think we were a little impatient, and saved us a lot of money.
And we had just gone through this whole surveying process, and Tanner had talked a lot to the surveyor. And we had talked to my grandfather and a lot of other people who knew a lot more than we did. And so we were comfortable looking at the survey and then with Tanner going and seeing the boat and actually going through every detail of it, like we talked about, that we didn't do on the first survey. We were confident enough that with the low price that we were planning on paying, that, we would fix whatever went wrong with the boat. And so it was kind of a struggle for us because we did feel like we should get our own survey, but it was like, it's going to say the same thing and maybe a couple of different things, but it's not going to be majorly different. So why not save the money,
Yeah. And, you could maybe say, and something I'll talk about a little bit, that some people might say, well, you don't know if that surveyor knows the yacht broker or the owner or something. That's something people will tell you. Don't get a recommended surveyor from like a yacht broker because they may be kind of in cahoots with each other trying to sell boats or something like that. This was a private owner, and he didn't even have like either of their phone numbers. So I had to go on a wild goose chase trying to find these guys. So it kind of made me feel a little more comfortable. And probably you as well. It didn't seem like anything weird was going on, right? I think we were okay with it. We talked about this. We were like, should we just pay for it again, or should we just, if we could get our hands on it, we should just use that. That was our thought process.
Yeah. And we honestly just went with our gut. We didn't feel like this guy was trying to screw us over, or like we didn't feel like anything was super fishy about the situation. And so we just went with it, and it all worked out really nicely. It kind of just happened the way it should. So we felt good about it. If we would have felt like something was off, we would have just got our own survey, but it just didn't turn out that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of a crazy experience or whatever. But anyway, so that brings us to the next step. So once you find your boat that you are wanting to purchase, and you've gone through your first little survey on your own, everything seems good. You made an offer. You and the owner or the broker come to an agreement. The next step is to set up your survey. Now, this is probably something for most people who've never done this. This is like you're speaking another language. I know it was for me and Emily. You're like, well, I've never done this before. No idea. How do you know if this guy knows what he's talking about, or girl, whatever? Where do I find them? I mean, your first thought might be, well, I should ask the broker. Does he know anyone? But you shouldn't do that because of conflict of interest, right? So,
yeah.
So the next step is to find an accredited, reputable surveyor. And he's going to, or she is going to take a professional look at your boat. That's what these people do for a living. They're very good at it. They have gone normally to some type of training, or they've been tested on this. They've been doing it for years. They know what they're looking for. They know, and they're going to give you an unbiased look, which is amazing, especially whenever people like us who don't really know what they're looking at when they first buy a boat. So it's really invaluable to be there for it. So they're going to spend several hours digging through every square inch of your boat. I mean, if they're a good one, they're going to ensure all of your systems are functioning and working properly. And also they're going to take the boat out to do a sea trial and test the engine combustion temperature, all kinds of things that I really don't know much about, but they're going to make sure everything is working properly, and they're going to give you a detailed report a few days later that's going to have pictures and their recommendations and things that aren't passing safety standards in the industry and things like that. It's really, really great stuff.
And there's a couple different pieces to the survey, right? There's 3 different parts, the boat inspection, the haul out part, and the sea trial, right?
Yeah, they're going. So basically, well, at least from what I've seen, I mean, it may be in a different order, but basically, they're going to show up. They're going to start on the deck. They're going to check, start on the top of the boat, check everything. They're just going to check the deck, make sure there's no soft spots, spider cracking, or at least check the moisture levels. Check your rig, check your sails. They're going to check all the everywhere in the cockpit, and to include the systems, and they're going to go downstairs where they'll probably start with your electrical panel, turning everything on, making sure everything's working properly, go through all the everything down in the cabin to include a lot of the engine. They're going to spend a lot of time on the engine, at least looking at everything, showing you things that aren't properly set up or that need to be fixed. that you probably have no idea that they're out of whack, but they will show you, and it's pretty amazing. They go through everything, and then like you said, there's 3 steps. So that's the first thing. Typically, you take it to a boat yard and have it hauled out, where they will then survey the bottom of the boat, your prop, shaft, rudder, the whole entire hull. Make sure everything's properly in order or whatever there. Make sure you're good there, and then you'll put the boat back in the water, and there'll be either the owner or someone he trusts to be the captain of the boat will take it out for a sea trial, and you and the surveyor will ride along, and he will, test the engine. Like I was saying, with some of the different things they test on the engine, you'll pull the sails out, sail it around, make sure the instruments and the navigation equipment and all that stuff's working. It's pretty great.
So not only did obviously it's important. The survey shines a light on a lot of things that you might not find otherwise, but also it could be mandatory for if you're trying to live aboard at a marina, if you're trying to get insurance, things like that. A lot of those places need the survey. And then also, like, what we found the most valuable was just like when Tanner was there watching the surveyor, like he got to see how the surveyor's mind worked and all of the different things that were going on in the boat. And then they give you that list of all the things that aren't up to par, and those were the first things that we fixed when we got the boat. So it's really a really important part of the process. And we obviously bought a survey. We didn't go through all of that on this boat, but it's invaluable. It's absolutely very important in the boat buying process, I think.
Yeah, and I think I felt, and probably you too, I guess I had to try to convince you that I had the confidence, or that I felt good about it, since you were so far away, unfortunately. Like after doing that first survey that we passed on that boat, but I went through every square inch of that boat with the surveyor. So I kind of got like a little bit of an idea of like, oh, I should be looking at all this stuff that I wasn't. This is important.
Yeah.
So, it was just a few days later or a week later that I had, gone to look at the next boat that we wanted to buy, the one that we ended up buying, the Endeavor. I had that like experience fresh in my mind. I was like, I remembered everything that he was telling me and what to look for, and that helped a lot give me an idea. And then I felt, and I hope you felt comfortable too. I think I had to convince you a little bit, but we were like, okay, if we can get our hands on the survey, I just went through a whole one of these with a guy. And so I feel like we could look at that list and make a determination of if this is a serious problem, or if we feel comfortable taking it. I never remember going through them line by line with you. We were talking about like, what is this going to cost to fix?
Yeah.
Do we think we can do this? Like, we went through every single thing.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, the survey is really important. We got advice. Everybody told us, and now we will tell you that like it's worth every penny of the survey. Like you need to have a survey. It's just really important.
I think most people get one because normally you're going to have one.
Yeah.
A lot of times your insurance company probably, our boat is, we're balling on a budget. Our boat's not super expensive, and that's great. But if you buy like $1 million yacht, your insurance company is probably not going to insure that boat unless they know everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah, for sure.
They want a professional to look at it. So you're probably going to need one anyway. And if you're getting financing for your boat, that's another person who's probably going to want to see a survey on the boat before they give you the money for it. So,
and then you have to use that survey for the next step, which is to make your final offer on the boat. So we said, we went through it line by line, and we decided like, okay, this is what it's going to cost for us to fix all of this stuff. And then we were able to renegotiate our offer with the seller based on what we found in the survey. And so what did we end up doing after we read the survey?
Okay, so I'm going to hit one more point before we move to the next step. Just something that I didn't know, that maybe someone listening to this who's trying to find a boat doesn't know either. But one of those things I was talking about was like a certified or like a reputable surveyor. So the way you find that, you can go to a couple of different websites, SAMS and NAMS. So SAMS is Society of Accredited Marine Surveyors, and NAMS is National Association of Marine Surveyors. So these groups or whatever, organizations, credential surveyors. And I'm going to put the links to those two websites in the show notes. So if you're looking for a surveyor, you may have not even known that information. I didn't know it when I was trying to find one. You can basically go there, type your location in, and it will have a radius, right? You can find guys that are credentialed, certified surveyors around you. And you can hop on, you can pull their information up. A lot of times they'll have a website, and you can go look at their website, and you can kind of make a determination on your own how professional you think they are based on their website. A lot of times they'll have example survey reports that you can look at, so you can kind of see what you're going to be paying for, the quality of their reports and stuff like that. They'll tell you a lot of times like they specialize in certain things like motor yachts, or they may say, I've cruised for 35 years on a sailboat, and you're like, oh, well, that's my guy. I want a guy who knows sailboats. It just depends, but you can gain some knowledge by just looking at their website and digging into it, and they're credentialed, which is very important. You should definitely check those websites out when you're trying to find someone. So yeah, I think that's covers the two. So we'll go on to the third one, like you were saying. So what do we do after you receive that survey report back? So you've paid the money to have a professional come and look at the boat, haul it out, check it out, make sure everything's good under the water line. You take it out, you sail it, and then he gives you his recommendation on how much it's worth, and then the things that need to be fixed. This is whenever you got to really spend some time combing through that survey and doing a lot of research, off the problems that they found. You got to look, first off, are you even willing to deal with those things? Is there anything that surprised you? How much is it going to cost to fix the things if you're not comfortable letting them go? What does the material cost if you're going to DIY it? How much is it going to cost in labor if you're going to pay someone to do it? Do you want to negotiate the owner fixing them before you'll buy it? These are all things that are options for you. You can negotiate that they'll fix all of it before you'll buy it, and your price may go up that you're going to have to pay, but that those things are done. You may take it as is and negotiate the price lower because you are going to do the work yourself, or you're going to have the work done. And these are things to leverage your renegotiation. And then the final step is to just obviously reach a new agreed upon price. And that's really the end of part 2.
I will say, the owner probably always thinks their boat is worth more than you do.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So another kind of thing that we had going on in our situation was that the owner had already kind of seen the survey. He hadn't actually seen it, but he was told everything that was in it. So he already knew.
Yeah, he was there for it.
He already knew everything that we were going to find in the survey that we were buying. And so we couldn't really use those things to negotiate after the fact, because they were already things that we knew, that he knew beforehand and that he had told us. So
yeah, and I think that's a key thing that you just said, is that he told us.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because when we were having conversations on the phone with him, we were asking, obviously, just tell us about the boat. What things need to be fixed? What are the, whatever. And everything that we ended up reading in the survey, he had told us, which is good. So there were no surprises, which was nice.
Yeah, and he was very firm on the price. So we had two different offers that we made. Obviously on the CS at the beginning, we offered 20 to 30% lower than the asking price, and he was just like, yes. But then this guy that we were buying from this time, he was very firm on the price, and he did not want to go down at all. But it was different because it was very upfront. We already knew everything before we made the initial offer, versus with the CS, obviously there were things wrong with it that we didn't know. So there was a reason he was accepting such a lower price. So we feel like we paid the appropriate cost for this boat, even though the negotiation pretty much stayed at the same amount the whole time. We didn't end up paying $30,000, but almost. I mean, it didn't go down a whole bunch. And so you have to base it on what you feel like the boat is worth, what you feel like the value of the boat is. And we feel like we paid the value of the boat. And so we are happy with our decision and the final offer that we made. And so, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but at the end of the day, if you're willing to pay the price, then pay it and get the boat you want. So, anything else to add, babe?
So this is another thing you can do when you're looking around at boats. You can get on, everyone knows what the Kelly Blue Book is for vehicles. You can go look up your model of vehicle, and you can kind of get an idea of what the average retail price is for it or whatever. You can do the same thing for boats. and I don't remember what it's called, but I will go find it and put it in the show notes because I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but it's
Yeah.
coming up in my mind that we might want to just like
Yeah, for sure.
give people that tip. You can go look up your boat and you can find out like how much money that boat, the year, the model, all that, how much it's been selling for recently. And you can kind of add in like the bits and bobs and systems upgrades and things that are on the boat. But I just kind of look at the generic cost of the boat, what it's selling for. And then I just kind of look at, how much work has to be done on the boat, or what upgrades are on the boat currently that work, are in good shape, and does that add value to the boat, right?
So the website is called NADA Guides. If you go there, you can type in the year and the model and the size, and even you can actually add even some of the extra stuff, and it'll tell you what the boat is worth. Yeah.
You're like a professional podcast host.
Got you.
Or a professional podcast
Googler.
producer. That was legit. That was like in 10 seconds. Yeah. So look at that. That will give you also a good starting point of what your boat is worth. And I think, I'll just be totally honest. I mean, I think ours was somewhere around 25 or 26.
Yeah.
This guy wanted 30 for it. We ended up at 28.
Yeah.
But our boat is in really, if you've watched our videos or seen pictures, whatever, our boat, a lot of the boats that you go look at that are 30 years old, they don't look very good inside. A lot of times they're not, or outside, but they're just not very well maintained. Our boat it's old, but it looks excellent. Like it was cared for. And yeah, there's a few things that we need to fix, like every boat has. There's a few systems that may need to be upgraded a little bit, but it's in great condition.
And that matters. I mean, it matters if it has been well looked after. We talked about last time how, it's not all about cosmetics, but it matters that, it's not completely run down.
Yeah. And like I think we've talked about before, I mean, the overall look of the boat, like we were saying, cosmetics don't matter that much, but like you just kind of said, it's like, it means it was well looked after. So when you look at a boat and it's trashed, that means that it wasn't well kept, obviously. Mm-hmm. If you look at the boat and it looks excellent inside, that means whoever had it cared about it. So you can just kind of get an idea of the general care that was most likely taken on the boat. And it looks great for 30 years old. So that says something. So for us, I remember us having the conversation where I was like, I don't want to lose this boat.
It has a lot of extras, and the guy was getting a lot of offers. And so, we had talked about, you were like, oh, we should offer 25, like, and we were like, no, he's not going to take it. We already knew. We could sense it from him that he wasn't going to take it. And so we were willing to offer more because we wanted the boat, and we knew that we could pay it and still be under our budget with all the things we needed to do with it. So yeah, that'll be up to you. That'll be, your decision when it comes time for you to buy your boat.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
and you gotta definitely you definitely got to, and like I was just about to say that, like you got to make sure you're not too emotionally invested. But I was, I just spent a lot of time, and we had the major fail on the CS that I felt kind of bad about.
Yeah.
That was kind of like it was just a learning experience, but it was really my fault. So I felt like this was a great boat, and we shouldn't miss the opportunity because we'd looked so much, and we couldn't find anything that was that well taken care of in our price range. And it was like lower than our, what we were been looking at. We were looking in like the 35, 40,000s, and we're over here looking at a $27,000, $28,000 boat, and it looks amazing, better than most of the $40,000 boats we were looking at. So I don't know. I think I was probably a little emotionally invested.
I think people would tell you as a general piece of advice to not let your emotions take over, but I think they do. And that's just the reality of it. And you have to emotions are part of it. This is about to be your home. It's the same thing if you're buying a house. Yeah. And so just be smart about it, but you're going to get invested and you're going to get attached, and that's just the way it is. And that's okay.
Yeah. I think I just knew too. I think I had like the gut feeling. I don't know if it was so much an emotional response because I'm pretty unemotional to a fault. But anyways, I feel like I had the feeling. I was like, we can't let this one go. Like, this is a great boat. It's in great condition. Like if I have to pay $1,000 more, or we have to pay whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we should execute this. I'm worried about being gone. So
Yeah. I'm honestly all about like simplicity and not overthinking things. And as soon as we were both like, yep, we want it, it was like, okay, we're getting it. Like,
and I negotiated him. I tried to negotiate a little bit more. I mean, I ended up getting a dinghy out of it.
Yeah.
And he wanted 30 and we got him down to 28 with a dinghy too. So
he fixed a couple things for us.
Yeah. The AC had some issues, but he had hired a guy to come out, and even though I've broken it since then, but he had a guy come out and fix it, and it was working. Like, and there was a couple of things that I was like, hey, fix this stuff, and we were still arguing like between 27 and 28. And he said, I'll throw in the dinghy. And I'm like, okay, sold. Like, we're done. 28, give it to me. So yeah.
At the end of the day, this second part of the boat buying process is
it's fun.
Definitely the most emotional. It's a roller coaster. It's fun. It's exciting. Enjoy it, but also be smart. So we hope we could give you a couple of good tips that might help you with the process. And next time, we're going to talk about what happens after you buy a boat, which is also a lot of craziness. So,
oh man, that's when all your money. That's when you start spending all your money.
Yeah, all the sayings come true. But until next time, have a great day, and we'll see you out there.
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Sencilla podcast. Please like, rate, comment, or share if you enjoyed the episode. If you'd like to support us, you can by subscribing to our YouTube channel or Patreon, where you can get some additional content and some cool swag. Check out our website at sailingsencilla.com, where you can learn more about us and our mission, and links to all the content we produce each week. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.